Welcome, everyone. Let's jump right into something totally fascinating today. If you've ever watched a modern football match and just marveled at how teams like Barcelona, Bayern Munich, or Manchester City string together dozens of rapid-fire passes, basically toying with their opponents, well, you've witnessed the result of a massive revolution. But the crazy thing is, this revolution didn't start in some gigantic, high-tech stadium. Nope. It started with a really simple training drill that looks suspiciously like a playground game of piggy in the middle. Yep, we are talking about the Rondo.
To really understand why this matters, listen to what the legendary Dutch player and coach Johan Cruyff had to say. He famously claimed, "Everything that goes on in a match, except shooting, you can do in a rondo." I mean, think about that for a second. He's saying that this simple, confined game of keep away literally contains the entire DNA of professional football. It completely subverts everything we expect about how elite athletes train. It's not just a warm-up. It actually is the game itself.
Section 1. What is a rondo? Okay, let's dive into this and look at the microscopic details of how this actually works. So at its core, a rondo is a training drill where a larger group of players keeps possession of the ball from a smaller, pressing group trapped in the middle. But look really closely at that phrase, predetermined positions. This is absolutely crucial. This isn't just a chaotic game of keep away where everyone runs wild wherever they want. The players forming the circle, or the grid, have incredibly specific structured zones. And this creates a highly organized environment that forces players to solve complex geometric puzzles in fractions of a second. When you look at the key tactical mechanics happening inside that grid, it's honestly like a pressure cooker for skill. Players are forced into sharp, one-touch passing. Because the space is so intensely tight, if you take too many touches, boom, you lose the ball. It demands constant spatial awareness. You have to know exactly where your teammates are, where the defenders are, and where the open passing lanes are before the ball even reaches your feet. It's all about creating numerical superiority, those overloads. And for the guys stuck in the middle, it's a total masterclass in rapid pressing and intercepting. It really shows us how this tight crucible forces players to think and react instantly. Section 2. The origins of revolution. So how did this become the foundation of modern football? Let's step back in time. For decades, the old-school football philosophy was completely obsessed with size and strength. Seriously, if you weren't tall and physically dominant, you were just overlooked. But then along comes this visionary coach named Laureano Ruiz. And this brilliantly illustrates the turning point. Ruiz didn't care about how tall a player was. He cared about their technique, their touch, and their footballing intelligence. He fully believed that if you mastered the ball, you could beat absolutely anyone, totally regardless of their physical size. We can actually trace the exact lineage of this revolution. Back in 1957, Ruiz was studying the super intricate passing patterns of Hungarian football. Fast forward to 1972, and he's hired by Barcelona's youth academy after their team suffered a pretty disastrous cup loss. Get this, when Ruiz arrived at Barcelona, there was literally a sign on the wall in the main office that essentially said, "Turn around if you are offering a player shorter than 1.80 meters. No joke. Ruiz famously took that sign straight down. He brought the Rondo to Barcelona. Then, in 1988, Johan Cruyff takes over the first team and unifies the entire academy to play this exact way. Finally, by 2008, a product of that very academy, Pep Guardiola takes the reins and perfects it at the highest possible level. This culture became absolute gospel. Legendary Barcelona midfielder Xavi Hernandez described it perfectly. He said, "Rondo, rondo, rondo, every single day. It's the best exercise there is." He also noted a really fun yet intense detail. If you lose the ball and go in the middle, it's humiliating. Your teammates applaud and literally laugh at you. So this wasn't just physical training, right? It was a daily, high-stakes psychological conditioning to cherish the ball above all else. Section 3. Training the mind and body. All right, we know the history. Now let's zoom out and look at the deep sports science that makes this methodology so incredibly effective. Behind Barcelona's incredible success was a genius fitness coach named Paco Ceirilo. He fundamentally changed how players trained by developing what's known as the structural microcycle. Before him, physical training and tactical ball work were totally separate things. You ran laps to get fit, and then you played football. Ceirilo threw that entirely out the window. He integrated everything. Whether it's the recovery phase after a match, the high-volume stimulatory phase, the intense optimization phase, or just the light activation phase right before the next game, every single step involves the ball. He proved once and for all that physical fitness and tactical intelligence should never, ever be separated. And because the ball is always involved, players develop a seriously critical skill: mental transitions. You see, the true magic of the rondo isn't just about physical speed. It's about the rapid cognitive transition required during split-second possession changes. When you lose the ball in a rondo, you can't just stop and sulk. You have to instantly switch from being an attacking creator to a rabid, relentless defender. This mental conditioning is exactly what makes these teams so incredibly lethal when they press high up the pitch. Section 4, translating practice to pitch. Let's move to and see how this builds from a tiny training grid into beautiful, macroscopic stadium strategies. So, coaches design incredibly specific rondos to perfectly replicate massive, high-stakes moments in an actual match. For example, if you set up a 4 versus 4 drill with 3 neutral players, you are perfectly mapping out an 11 versus 11 game shape, teaching players width, depth, and length. A smaller 3 versus 2 setup brilliantly simulates the goalkeeper and center backs trying to build out from the back under pressure. Or a 5 versus 2 grid that specifically trains your central midfielders to absolutely dominate the middle of the park. It's game scenario replication in its purest, most distilled form.
In these grids completely teach players how to manipulate space. By using principles learned in the rondo, teams learn to attack the half spaces, those highly dangerous areas right between the wing and the center. They draw defenders apart. They utilize the third man concept, where a direct pass might be blocked, so you pass to a second player who instantly relays it to the third. They create these tight triangles and diamonds, suffocating the opposition through pure geometry, all while maintaining strict discipline to stay in their designated horizontal and vertical zones.
But there's a delicate balance to this strict geometry. Thierry Henry shared a brilliant anecdote about playing under Pep Guardiola that hits the nail on the head. He recalled Pep telling the forwards, "My job is to bring you to the last third. Your job is to finish it." Henry actually got subbed off once for leaving his assigned zone just to go look for the ball. It's hilarious, but it brilliantly illustrates the strict discipline required in the build-up play, contrasted with the ultimate creative freedom granted once the team finally reaches the final third.
Section 5, Pep Guardiola's Blueprint. Which brings us to the climax of our explainer. Let's look at how one man weaponized this philosophy to dominate world football. Pep took the rondo and turned it into an unshakable tactical blueprint with some extremely strict positional rules, most famously, the 15 passes rule. Now, people often think his teams pass 15 times just to show off or waste time. They don't. It is actually a defensive tool. By taking the time to complete 15 consecutive passes, it allows Pep's team to move all the way up the pitch as a cohesive unit and retain their shape. He overloads one side of the pitch to draw the opponent in, and if they happen to lose the ball, that tight shape allows for immediate counterpressing to win it right back, shutting down dangerous counterattacks before they even start. And Pep's dedication to this system borders on the extreme. His personal assistant actually coined a term for it, the law of 32 minutes. This is the surprising and kind of wild fact that Guardiola's brain can allegedly only disconnect from thinking about football for a maximum of 32 minutes at a time. Whether he's eating dinner or playing with his kids, after about half an hour, his mind is naturally drifting right back to opposition left backs and new rondo variations. It's an absolute obsession. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it culminates in a single astonishing number, 94. Just weeks after Pep Guardiola joined Bayern Munich, his team scored a goal against Manchester City in the Champions League. Leading up to that single goal, the Bayern players completed exactly 94 consecutive passes. That right there is the rondo manifested on the grandest stage possible. An entire opposing team featuring literally some of the best players in the world, reduced to chasing shadows for 3 straight minutes. All because of a training drill.
So the next time you sit down to watch a match, don't just lazily follow the ball. Look for the triangles. Look for those third-man runs. Look for the strict zones the players are occupying. Are you ready to see the hidden grid beneath the beautiful game? Because once you truly understand the rondo, you will never look at football the same way again. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.